Okay, good evening. A very warm welcome to everyone here joining us for this evening of our program of Holocaust Remembrance. I'm Larry Rosenberg, and I'm going to be your host for tonight. We're going to start tonight's program with the singing of the national anthem. Leading us will be Cantor Warshawski and the Scouts of Scouting America 240. I'm going to ask them to come up. And I think I'm going to miss one name, but let me read them. Sam Aristaldi, Jason Aristaldi, Jackson Ho, Darius Roach, Atif Paracha, Adam Paracha. Who did I miss? And Tristan Mathai. Thank you. Cantor, please rise for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Please be seated. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Cantor, and a special thank you to the Scouts and their families, and a special thank you to Nick Ho, who made this all happen. The participation of the Scouts is specifically the connection that this program strives to achieve, and we really appreciate you being here. And once again, you're going to hear the date for the program next year. We'd like to see you back again then. Tonight's program is sponsored by the collaboration of many organizations. This indicates that we are a unified community. Together with Congregation Shira Shalom, where we are today, and the Jewish Community Relations Council of Long Island, these wonderful groups that you see there, guided by their dedicated leadership, have shared in the planning and communications. But most specifically, we are very pleased to see everyone here tonight, both in the shul and online, and just as a reflection of how important Holocaust Remembrance is. Our program tonight will contain several traditional elements and perhaps a new one. We've already heard the national anthem, and then there'll be the lighting of the 6 memorial candles. Each candle will be lit by a family member of a victim or a survivor of the Shoah. Then we'll be lighting a 7th candle in memory of the 5 million non-Jewish people killed at the time of the Shoah. At this point, it's fitting for me to share an email that I received from Father Tony from St. Anthony. We do have the deacon here. You'll meet him in a little bit, but here's his quote. May the memories of all those that perished be a blessing for all of us as we pray for lasting peace and an end to anti-Semitism and all hatred. Signed, Father Tony. Very appreciated. And then we'll light an 8th candle in honor of and memory of the victims of October 7th massacre and the fallen IDF soldiers in the current war in Israel. Tonight we have 6 or so present of these former and current members of the IDF, and we will see them in a bit, but we certainly want to express our appreciation to them for their service. Thank you. We will then join together to recite the Mourner's Kaddish, led by all the candlelighters, and then we will hear the testimony of Holocaust survivor Egon Salman. At that point, we'll be at the heart of our program. Rabbi Menachem Creditor, our guest speaker, will share his perspectives. And then we'll close the program with the singing of the Hatikvah. As we start our program, we'd like to recognize some important guests that have joined us. First, there are several clergy here. I'm not going to go through their names because I'm going to miss one, but we really want them all to stand up. All the clergy, please. Thank you. Our elected officials here that's representing is Elena Nix, our Nassau County Legislator. Elena, thank you so much. And I really want to make a special thank you to the leaders of the Scouts of 240. They really did a great job. I'd like them to stand up and be recognized. The leaders, please. Thanks. The Holocaust, or the Shoah in Hebrew, was the systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million European Jews by the Nazi German regime and its allies and its collaborators. In addition to perpetrating the Holocaust, Nazi Germany also persecuted and murdered millions of other victims. Without a doubt, anti-Semitism was at the core of the Holocaust. Anti-Semitism, which positioned Jews as subhumans, was a basic belief of Nazi ideology. The path that the Nazis took was premeditated and very, very clear. It started with hatred, and then it went to prejudice, and then it escalated to persecution, and ultimately to mass murder. As important it is for us to remember, remembrance is not enough. We need not be reminded that we are living in challenging, indeed dangerous times. Will we learn from history, or will history repeat itself? Tonight we'll reflect on the evil of the perpetrators, the fate of the victims, and what we can learn as lessons for today. We will also look, maybe for the first time here, at the complicity of the silent bystander, perhaps the most dangerous party. Both the Holocaust and the reality of our post-October 7th world is on our minds. So, what will we do tonight? Will we remember? Will we seek actions to stop the hate and stop the violence? Or will we commit ourselves to speak out? Let's try to do all three of these things for the hope of a better tomorrow. Although the murder of 6 million people is a number too large for us to comprehend, we will symbolically try with one candle for each of the 1 million people murdered, killed for one simple reason: they were Jewish. It was customary in years past to have survivors light these candles. Now, as the years have moved on, we're calling upon children, grandchildren, and all generations to light each of these candles in honor of the survivors and the victims in their family. In addition, as I said, a 7th candle will be lit to remember the non-Jewish victims, and an 8th candle to remember the victims of October 7th massacre, the ongoing war in Israel, and the fallen IDF soldiers. Cantor Varshavsky of the Merrick Jewish Center will sing Eli Eli with lyrics by Hannah Senish. Perhaps a word about Hannah Senish. Strangely, Hannah lived in Israel before World War II. She parachuted as a volunteer into Europe and served as a resistance fighter. In 1944, she was captured by the Nazis, tortured, and executed at a young age of 23. As the candles are lit and we hear the words of hope that Hannah brings to mind, let's remember all of those that were lost. Cantor.
Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam.
The first candle is lit by second generation Av and third generation Emily Sininsky for their grandparents and great-grandparents Chaim and Sarah Indig, and second generation Robert and third generation Allison and Jolie Wadowski for Samuel and Eva Wadowski, as we remember the 6 million martyrs who were killed by the Nazis and their helpers.
Achol ve'ayam rishru shel hamayim berak hashamayim tefilat adam.
The second candle is lit, representing our elected officials, by Olena Nix, Nassau County Legislator. Olena? As we remember that they murdered the young and the old, including over 1 million children.
Achol ve'ayam rishru shel hamayim berak hashamayim tfilat adam.
The third candle is lit by Alan Skorsky, remembering Rabbi Aryeh and Corinne Skorsky, as we recall the scholars and the artists and the 32,000 Jewish communities that are no more.
O God, my God, I pray that these things never end.
The fourth candle is lit by Danny Freeman and Sarah, recalling Shmuel and Adela Freeman, as well as Roberta and Jay Post, and the entire Post clan, as we remember Harry Williams and his extensive family from Kolo, Poland.
The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
And the fifth candle is lit by Ilan Rogozinski, remembering Mother Leah Zafman Rogozinski, and Ronit Rogozinski, remembering Father Moshe Moreau, and Gail Ann Klonsky and third generation Ari Klonsky, remembering Shirley and Stanley Levine, as we remember all the courageous men and women who kept the flame of Jewish culture alive in the ghettos and the camps.
The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
And the sixth candle is lit by our guest of honor, Rabbi Menachem Creditor. As we remember the heroes and the fighters of the ghettos, forests, and camps who fought back defiant and proud.
Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam.
We will now light a seventh candle as we remember the 5 million non-Jews who also were killed by the Nazis. Lighting this candle is Deacon Mike Durso of St. Thomas the Apostle of West Hempstead.
Achol behayam rishru shel hamayim berak hashamayim tfilat adam.
And now an 8th candle is lit by Captain Dagan Cohn and his fellow Shinshanim, but future and past members of the IDF, as we remember the victims of October 7th massacre, and we pray for the mental and physical recovery of the hostages and honor the fallen and injured members of the IDF. We remember now and forever. Thank you, Cantor Varshavsky, and a very special thank you to all the candlelighters. These succeeding generations and victims and survivors will now lead us as we recite the memorial prayer, the Mourner's Kaddish, which is in your booklet and will be led by all of us by Rabbi Yechiel. Please rise.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ביעלמא תברך חירותה, וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיא. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. May the God of the universe send peace to us, to Israel, and to all of humanity. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you, Yashikol. Please, everyone, be seated. Come up at the end. No, you're going to come sing. I want you to. Yeah, stand.
I have an idea. It was 1960.
If you leave it. Thank you. So we understand how difficult it is to grasp the scale of destruction and murder. But let's try a different way. Let's learn about one person's experience, one survivor's story. Tonight, that person is Egon Salman, a Holocaust survivor. Egon passed away 4 years ago at the age of 98. We're going to hear his initially failed attempts to escape Nazi peril and then had a very unique experience after the war. His testimony we're about to hear was recorded by Shira Soul and the Staten Island Advance. This is the 6th year that we've used one of Shira's recorded testimonies. She was here with us last year, and actually she's online somewhere. I believe she's somewhere in Asia, but she signed in to listen to this, and we really thank her and Steve Zaffarano for making this possible. So why don't we hear the testimony of Egon Salman.
It's very, very difficult to comprehend. It is almost impossible to describe because of restrictions to Jews where that they couldn't get into restaurants, hotels, restricted to eat, what movie you can go to, who you can go out with. People didn't want to associate because they were afraid. It wasn't a question of not being able to get out of Germany. The problem was, where would you go to? Crystal night, my father was picked up by the Gestapo and put into concentration camp in Dachau. He was there for approximately 5 weeks. The German government then decided to release all the Jewish people that were picked up and put in prison and sent home. Because of the happenings, my mother, my sister, and myself booked passage on a ship, the St. Louis. We left Germany to Cuba to be reunited with my father. Entering the harbor of Havana, Cuban government decided not to give permission for the passengers to disembark and had to leave to go back to Germany. Probably the last ship leaving Europe for the United States. We entered the United States in Hoboken, New Jersey, and took residence in Staten Island. I went to high school, Newdorp High School. I was drafted and sent to a basic training camp in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I served overseas in Africa and Italy, predominantly in the Italian campaign, until the end of war, 1945. I have 2 children, 2 boys. I have 6. No, wait a second. I have 4 granddaughters, 2 grandsons, and 4 great-grandchildren.
How do you think future generations can prevent this kind of thing from happening again?
Can't. Depends how people react, how people vote, what happened. Sorry, I bring tears to my eyes. You have to hope. It's a lesson that you're learning. You better learn it diligently. Study hard. Be a good citizen, so that you don't get locked up. But, yes, be a good citizen. So that's basically the story.
it doesn't include their experience of a ghetto or a camp, but it's certainly a tough thing that they went through and a very valuable lesson that we get from Egon on what we should be concerned about in our world today. Again, I want to thank the Staten Island Advance and Shira Stoll and Steve Zaffarano for making this all possible. It's an absolutely great resource. Now, Egon's story, although it's one of survival and has a lot of warnings, it indicates the risks that we face. And we think about Egon's family and the ordeals of the other martyrs and the other survivors of the Shoah, the wisdom of Elie Wiesel comes to mind. And I quote, "What hurts the victim most is not the cruelty of the oppressor, but the silence of the bystander." The silence of the bystander. And I think we can infer from what Elie Wiesel said that we all together have the moral imperative to speak out and take action against any sort of hate or oppression. It's going to be tough to do that. Cantor Warshawski and his daughter Adina will remind us of this lesson in song, the danger of the sounds of silence. And when you listen to the words that they sing, it's a tune that we all know, there is a phrase in there that I want you to please think about, and that is, silence like a cancer grows. Cantor? Adina?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk to you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, 'neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never shared, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fool, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell, ooh, and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. and the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said, the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sounds of silence.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you, Adina. So at this moment, why don't we all commit to Elie Wiesel's urging, to speak out, to stand up, to resist in the face of oppression. Silence is as harmful as the actions of the perpetrators then, and it is now. Silence, like a cancer, grows. And I'm afraid it's going to take courage for us, and we might even be taking risks, but it's something we must do. We must take a side. Perhaps this one thing is the lesson for the Holocaust for all of us. Now I have some good fortune for myself. I have the opportunity to introduce the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Long Island, my partner in tonight's program, Mindy Perlmutter. Mindy and her team are the hub of all things Jewish on Long Island. Mindy?
Thank you, and good evening. It is truly a pleasure to be here with all of you today and with all of you on Zoom. It is deeply moving to see our community come together for this annual gathering, united in solemn memory of the 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust, and in honor of the survivors, the witnesses, and the generations who carried their legacy forward. Our responsibility is not only to remember, but to act, to ensure that such darkness never takes hold again. Before we continue with the program, I would like to take a moment, though, to recognize a few people who made this evening possible. First, you've been listening to him so far all evening. A very special thank you to Larry Rosenberg, who once again has worked tirelessly and has been the driving force behind this event. Larry, we are all deeply grateful. I would also like to thank Congregation Sharei Shalom for hosting this important program, along with all our wonderful partners. And if you have the booklet in front of you, they're all listed. Please take a look, because there are a number of them. I won't name them all. And to all of those who are participating in this evening's program, both on the stage and behind the scenes. Additionally, we are grateful to have some elected officials with us today, and we thank them because they have continued to stand in supporting Holocaust education and the Jewish community on Long Island, so we are very grateful for that. And as safety and security are paramount in planning programs such as these, I want to thank also the Nassau County Police Department and the dedicated volunteers of CSS for helping ensure that we can gather safely this evening. Can we please give everyone a round of applause? So, while nothing can nor should ever be compared to the Holocaust, we are witnessing one of the most significant rises in anti-Semitism that many of us have not experienced in our lifetimes. One crucial difference, though, between the 1930s, however, is that we now have a state of Israel. And it is important to remember that the state of Israel was not established because the Holocaust ended, but rather the Holocaust happened in a world where there was no Jewish state. This reality underscores why Israel must always remain the homeland of the Jewish people. So, in that spirit, it is my honor to introduce this evening's keynote speaker, Someone I'm lucky enough to say is a friend. Rabbi Menachem Creditor, a leader who embodies the values of justice, moral courage, and remembrance. He is a bridge builder between communities, faiths, and generations. Rabbi Creditor is globally respected American rabbi, author, musician, and dynamic educator whose work bridges ancient Jewish wisdom with contemporary life. He serves as UJA Federation's Scholar in Residence. With millions of views of his videos and essays, he was named by Newsweek as one of the 50 most influential rabbis in America. He has published over 40 books and 6 albums of original music and serves as senior lecturer at the Academy for Jewish Religion. Rabbi Creditor lives in New York with his wonderful wife, singer Neshama Carbuncle, and their family. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome, very warm welcome, to Rabbi Menachem Creditor.
Thank you, everyone. Among the things that I'm most proud of this evening, with which I wanted to begin, is that I grew up in this community. And returning as a child of Long Island and as a former Cub Scout in Wantagh, to see not only community coming together, but bearing testimony. In a complicated moment where testimony is indirect, thank God for the gift of technology and for the dedication of those with the right skills so that we could hear voices. We don't have the blessing of being near in the same way. But to quote Elie Wiesel one more time, as he taught, to be witness to a witness makes one a witness. And so we all have a commanding voice that we have to pay attention to and are not allowed to turn away from. Often we understand that power is proximity and proximity is power, that when we are near, that commanding voice is more obvious. Our great work right now is to make sure that voices that feel so far in the past, especially for the young people around, that they have to be hyper-local. We have to feel testimony that is far away, and we have to feel a bridge between our lived experience and the lived experience of so many others, similar and different. That is true for diaspora Jews and Israeli Jews. That is true for Jews and Christians and Muslims. That is true for people across every national divide, and especially within our community across the political divides. Because it's all good and well to say that we have to be willing to take risks, but if we really listen to the testimony that we were just granted through the miracle of recordings and technology, be a good citizen, that used to mean listening too. And so as Jews, we absolutely know the price of silence, and it does grow, and it's contagious, and avoidance as a way of just not dealing with it, or going on social media where all you hear is people who agree with you, and you can block people who don't, or be cruel, God forbid. This might not be specific to the Shoah, but the context here matters. What do we want our community to look like is one of the ways that we respond to the horrors of the Shoah. Because not enough people asked such a question. And as Mindy so correctly pointed out, from the Jewish standpoint, the big difference between then and now is not people's willingness to be cruel. The big difference is that with the birth of the State of Israel, the rebirth of the Jewish people in our homeland, we regained a sense of pride and dignity on earth, and everyone deserves that. The Shoah tells us the necessity of saying so as Jews. That's not the purpose of Holocaust education. The purpose of Holocaust education is knowing that it happened, and knowing that it could happen. And for all of the political complexity of this, especially geopolitically right now, if we really are witness, then we have to do what Elie Wiesel was willing to do too. Go to Darfur and say, if you say never again, we have to mean it. Never again for us, never again for anybody. What a valiant, brave, and from my lived experience, strange practice, but essential one, to light an additional candle for those who are not Jewish, who are also targeted, the LGBTQ community, political dissidents, and in our world, across any stigma. It's not that the Shoah, the Holocaust, should be malleable enough to be just another lesson in bullying is bad. It can't be that. It's a specifically Jewish experience. But all of our holidays, all of our sacred texts are there to remind us of the essential message that we are all created in the divine image. When we emerged from Mitzrayim, free for the first time after bondage in Egypt, the Torah commands us immediately that there should be one law for the ger and the ezrach, for the stranger and the citizen alike, equal under the law, under the Torah's notion of law. And then we are told 36 times, remember what was done to you. Never do that to anyone else, and always speak up if you hear any of it being done. And so when you see pictures of Kristallnacht, the night of shattered glass, how essential it is for us to understand that any house of worship that is targeted, it's not the Shoah, but it is that image in someone else's experience and in our neighborhoods. And so the blood of our sisters and brothers calling from the earth, unfortunately, is too plenty. And when I say sisters and brothers, who do we mean? So among the ways that I want to be authentic to Yom HaShoah in this reflection is to bring to mind one beloved teacher who I lost just 2 years ago. His name was Ben Stern, Zichrono Livracha, of blessed memory. In Hebrew, Baruch Bendit Ben Shimon Nassim. Ben Stern was a survivor of 2 concentration camps, 2 death marches, 2 ghettos, and then in 1977, as an American citizen living in Skokie, Illinois, he was there when the neo-Nazis threatened to march. If I say tiki torches, you know I'm saying more recent, but that then, and specifically targeting a community where there were thousands of survivors. Ben belonged to a synagogue, and there was a great political debate whether or not the Nazis should be allowed to march in America. And before we say that's such a strange idea, let's pay attention to recent history. And let's remember that Madison Square Garden was full during the Shoah of an American Nazi party. We are not immune, nor is America different as a given. Those are choices we make, memories we conjure. The othering of anyone is the othering of anyone. And so Baruch Bendit, Ben Stern, of blessed memory, who died just 2 years ago in Berkeley, California. His funeral was in the synagogue that his daughter Charlene helped found, that I was blessed to serve as rabbi for a time. He was in the synagogue when the rabbi said to the community, yeah, it's hateful, but it's just a march. Just draw your shades and it'll be over quick. Ben was sitting somewhere in the middle, and he got up and he shouted at the rabbi, "Not today, not here." It's not that the Shoah should be reduced to one response, but how dare we not say in our community, not today, not here, not for Jews, not for anyone, not for Muslims, not across racial lines, not against immigrants, not against LGBTQ people. For all of the political complexity of this moment, human dignity should be a given, especially in light of the indignities and dehumanization that led to this and could lead again. And there are rumblings in our hearts, fear as Jews with the increasing blasphemy of anti-Semitism. But it isn't the only hatred that we face. And if all we do is look within, well, thank God we do. But if all we do is look within, are we being authentic to the tradition we've been handed? So I want to share a few different thoughts. I'm not going to tie this together in a bow. History doesn't allow that. And we haven't written this chapter yet. We barely remember that one. There are studies these days that are showing that so many public school students don't even know the name Auschwitz. So the basic understanding of this history is being lost with the loss of historical literacy of all kinds. We have to pay attention to all of that, and we have to pay attention to the agency that we have right now. So quickly, a vignette. In a wonderful book edited by David Issei, who founded StoryCorps, it's a program on NPR where people interview each other, and then the interview is recorded and placed in the Library of Congress with guided questions. It is an example of testimony, and the book is called Listening is an Act of Love. And it is. Listening is an act of love. Bearing testimony is an act of love. Becoming a witness is an act of love. So in this conversation that's recorded in the book, a daughter of a survivor shares her story. And she says, "My dad told us stories of the Shoah, but they were always the stories where he and his friends were the little rascals." Anyone know the little rascals? And they were always outsmarting the foolish Nazis. And she says, "I know that wasn't how it was. But those are the stories he was willing to tell me, and so many survivors immediately after the war did not tell the story, and so many American Jewish communities didn't want to hear it either. It took bravery and courage until there was an expectation, as weird as that is to say, that testimony would be offered by survivors. To this day, there are some, too few." So she tells a story about asking her father over and over, "Dad, tell me how it really was. I know that's not the truth." And he refuses. He refuses to tell her. Finally, she shares, he's toward the end of his life, and it's clear he doesn't have long. And she says, "Dad, tell me." And he gets mad finally. And he says, "You know why I haven't told you?" I'm thinking specifically of people younger than me in the room. With tears in my eyes, I say this. "I didn't tell you this because I live in a room. And I can't get out of this room. And once I tell you what happened, you're going to be in this room with me. And you won't be able to get out." And she said, "Dad, I need to know. Tell me now." And he did, she says. And then she ends with, "And he was right. Now I'm in that room too." But to be in that very complicated room, which unfortunately has had echoes and echoes and echoes, speaking specifically as a Jew in our lived experience, is an unfathomable repetition of threats against our very lives. It should be blasphemous in our eyes, however much gratitude we should also have to police and to CSS and to all the community organizations. What a blasphemy against human dignity that anything should be necessary like that. I have a dear friend who's an Episcopal priest who visited my office at UJA in the city, and he said, "Where's the bathroom?" And he showed him where the bathroom is, and he came back, he says, "Why does it have that like triple lock thing in the bathroom?" And as he looked at my eyes when he asked, he goes, oh. What becomes normalized should be unacceptable. It's not normal. We are located in time, in a very, very strange moment on the Jewish calendar. You might know the phrase high holidays associated with Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. It's a beautiful cycle of time where we begin our year. Rosh Hashanah, the world is reborn. Yom Kippur is when we are granted, please God, another chance to get it right. And the days between are fascinating. The days between, those 10 days we call Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, 10 days of repentance. It's a path and a journey that links those two holy days. For the modern Jewish people, we are in, right now, the high holy days. From Yom HaShoah V'Gvura, which on the calendar was last week, to this week, Yom HaZikaron, and just after it, Yom HaAtzmaut, and translating these so we can understand the emotionality, though this will be a pale explanation of the days. Yom HaShoah VaGvura, we on our program call it Yom HaShoah, but in Israel that's not the name, that's not the original full name. Why? Yom HaShoah, Day of Holocaust, Gvura, heroism. And why is that the day on which we mark Holocaust memory? How can you sum up years of degradation and the process of extermination to one day, and what day should it be? In fact, if you know your American calendar, there's the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. When does that happen? Not during April, the month of Nisan. It happens in January. What does that commemorate? International Holocaust Remembrance Day? The liberation of Auschwitz by the Allies who finally showed up. But what's the difference between that day and our day? That day is marked by an international community whose guilt is partially assuaged by having ignored our annihilation and finally showing up. What day do we choose? Why is Yom HaShoah now? Because it commemorates the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, when we fought back, when we claimed the dignity that should never have been questioned or attacked or denigrated. And so even Yom HaShoah is not only, and what a terrible way to put it, only about what was done to us. Yom HaShoah VaGvura is a redefinition of Jewish heroism, of Jewish dignity, of the self. And where does that become clearest? 7 days later, into Yom HaZikaron, where all those who fell to create the state of Israel fell in its defense, who have fallen since its defense, and those who have been victims of terror, we remember them. Because they died as a Chad Ha'am, one of the founders of cultural Zionism called it, on their own terms. They died because they believed in something. He said, we just want to live and die on our own terms. And straight from there, in what feels like a manic pivot, is the celebration of birth. But even in Jewish mystical thought, we know that the Messiah comes after Chevlei Mashiach, the birth pangs, the pain of it. I say this as a man, I don't obviously know. But the pain of birth is something to be reckoned with. And what a gift to believe, to know, to recognize, to celebrate that this moment that we are in, we are right between those two poles, between Yom HaShoah VaGvura into Yom HaZikaron and then Yom HaAtzmaut. What a gift to be a free Jew saying this, to be a proud Jew saying this. My family only started wearing a kippah and a Jewish star and Jewish lettering on necklaces in an outward sign of pride when Israel won the war in 1967. It transformed the notion of being a Jew in public. What are the 7 days between to be called? The high holidays in the fall, we call those 10 between days Aseret Yemei Tshuva, 10 days of Tshuva, of repentance. What are these 7 days? Many have started calling it Shivat Yemei Tkuma, 7 days of standing up again, 7 days of fulfillment, of being our full size in the world. So I just want to ask everyone in the room, Jewish and not, no matter what you believe about God, and we are fundamentally a non-fundamentalist faith, so I would never tell you what to believe. I'll just tell you that I believe that God's image is in each one of you, in each one of us. So I would ask you to do something very simple with a very big ramification in your own spirit, which is sit up straight. I'm really asking you. I'm not looking at anyone to see who's doing what. But sit up straight. You are a child of God, doing the heroic act of remembering, of being brave enough to get into that room, and if you've been in that room already, to say, I'm going to carry forward the messages that I have been entrusted with. I will say, not here, not today, not for me, not for anyone. I will say that to bear witness to a witness makes one a witness. I will say that when any human being on any street of any nation is marginalized for being who they are, I will say something. Too many didn't say it for us. We learned, I hope, what it is to see God's image as worthy of robust defense. There's no good way to close this. None. So I won't try. In fact, I'll tell you what might sound like a humorous vignette. It's 2,000 years old. I think the humor holds up. There's a teaching in the Talmud, a book from 2,000 years ago, where Jews arguing then had enough of an impact that we still read their arguments and say, that's who I am. A guy, this always starts with a guy, tells a story of, I was once wandering through the forest and a lion came upon me, and I survived. So he talked about the lion. Then, once when he was on the path, a wolf attacked him, and he survived the wolf. And he told the story of having survived the wolf. Then a snake attacked him, and he forgot all about the lion and the wolf. And he only talked about the snake. And the Talmud says then, that's what it is to be a Jew. New troubles make us forget the old ones. That can't quite be true. But it's a little bit true. And we have to work against that. So let me close with a poem that was not written for Yom HaShoah, but you'll understand why it fits. It was written by perhaps the greatest Hebrew poet to ever live, Yehuda Amichai, who lived in Jerusalem. This is from a collection of his called Poems of Jerusalem. He would have enjoyed knowing that a rabbi wanted to read his words in a shul. He never would have gone into a shul. In fact, he has a great poem about going into a museum that had an old synagogue recreated, and that was the synagogue that he was comfortable going to. So I'll read it in the Hebrew because it should be read in the Hebrew first. And then I'll read you a translation. I know it'll resonate. But hear the majesty of a recreated indigenous Hebrew language as also a response to today. Kol hadarot shlefanai. Kol hadarot shlefanai tarmu oti. Kim'a k'dei she'ukam kan b'Yerushalayim bevat achat. Kmo veit tefila o mosad tzedaka ze mechayev. Shmi hu shem tormai ze mechayev. אני מתקרב לגיל מות אבי, צבעתי מותלית בהרבה טלאים, אני צריך לשנות את חיי ואת מותי יום יום, כדי לקיים את כל הנבואות שניבאו אותי, שלא יהיו שקר, זה מחייב. עברתי את שנת ה-40, יש מישורות שבהן לא יקבלו אותי, בשל כך, אילו הייתי באושוויץ, לא היו שולחים אותי לעבוד, היו שורפים אותי מיד, זה מחייב. All the generations before me donated me, bit by bit, so that I'd be built all at once here in Jerusalem like a house of prayer or philanthropy. It obligates. My name is my donor's name. It obligates. I'm approaching the age of my father's death. My last will's patched with many patches. I have to change my life and my death daily to fulfill all the prophecies prophesied for me, so that they won't be lies. It obligates. I'm past 40 now. There are jobs I cannot get because of this. Were I in Auschwitz, they would not have sent me out to work, but gassed me straight away. It obligates. All the differences that we think matter. Within the Jewish community, we often say, what kind of a Jew? What's your denomination? What are your politics? It wouldn't have mattered. And in this room, would it have mattered? All the things that we think divide us, would it have mattered? No, and that obligates. Did we hear words today from Egon Salmon of blessed memory? He obligates. He speaks to us still today. So I bless us with one very, very simple truth. It's not simple for us to do, it's not simple to learn, but since we don't have a choice, we might as well choose it. That when we say as a Jewish community the words Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel lives, we don't say it casually, and we don't allow it only to be reflective of our inner worth. We exist and live as a Jewish community and are called to be witness to all that we as a people have seen for thousands of years. In fact, we have endured when the dominant oppressors that hurt us for millennia crumbled. We are here. We heard from when we were in Egypt that our job was never to let happen to others what happened to us. We have been told over and over again, and after the absolute curse of October 7th, we rise again. All along our walls in this shul shows that we don't turn away from our sisters and brothers, but that should be no less true in the pews. What a blessing to have all of the representatives of our community here, to bear testimony and to be obligated. So I ask you, before I walk away from the podium, think of one act you can do in this room before you leave with someone you don't know, to show gratitude and fierce determination to be a good neighbor, and to decide one thing before you leave this room that you're going to do tomorrow, to listen to what Egon told us to do, to make sure that testimony is translated into embodied action. He was asked the hardest of all questions, how can you be sure it won't happen again? And what did he answer? It could. We're what stands in between. We are what stands in between. May the memory of the 6 million forever be a blessing. May the memory of every human being who was murdered by hateful people in power also be for a blessing. May we each do our part to kindle the divine light in our own eyes, because that way we can see the divine light in everyone else's. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Just spellbinding. Before we end our program, I'm going to thank a bunch of people that really helped out in the planning and the execution of this. And some of them are repeats, but it's worth doing it. So we have all of our partnering organizations. We really thank them. There's so many of them here on Long Island. It's a very strong Long Island community of organizations. We've already recognized Mindy Perlmutter for the role that she plays in this, which is outstanding. But I also want to mention two names who really get it done, and that's Marcy and Tara. Where are you guys? I think they cringe every time they see my caller ID. To our elected officials, thank you. There's so much for you to do. It's so important. Candlelighters in great numbers. It's just so strong. Cantor and Adina. Where's Adina? Thank you. For me personally, Scouting America, thanks so much. We got Sean in technical, Alan Shamoon, Richie Selzer, tremendous amount of work to make this thing go smoothly. Our organizing committee and the House volunteers that are all doing this. Sheila, where's Sheila? We're married a long time. Egon Solomon, great testimony. It's probably a good thing to do to thank the members of the United States Armed Forces that fought and sacrificed, some the ultimate sacrifice during World War II. CSS, the Nassau County Police, all the volunteers, a lot of them you see here, and where is Leah Freeberg making it all happen? Thank you, Leah. But once again, I want to reflect on the words of Rabbi Creditor. Rabbi, each year this program gets put up on YouTube, and I know I want to listen to it again because there's so much value in what he said. To re-listen to it is of great importance. And we all came together today, so that's so important, and we must continue to take a stand. So now we're going to close the program by the singing of Hatikva. We're going to bring up a bunch of people. Cantor Varshavsky, we're going to bring up all of the Shin Shemim to lead us in the Tikva, and we have some older veterans of the IDF here, and they're going to join us. Rabbi Achiel, Shlomo, Ilan, Danny, come on up, let's just sing the Hatikva. Cantor.
Kol od balevav benima, nefesh Yehudi homiya, ulefatei mizrach kadima, ayin letzion Sophia, oh Lord, tikvateinu, atikva bat shenot alpaim, liotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim, liotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim.
So we all know that Hatikva, translated into English, is the hope. If there's one positive thing we could walk away with to tonight's program is that we should have hope. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. A couple of important messages. We're going to daven Mariv at 8:45 in the Moseson Chapel, and we'll use the usual services link for that. Rabbi, correct? Thank you. Two things that I'd like for people to think about as we close. Number one, for the people that are online, there's a short two-question survey that I'd like you to please answer. It's very, very helpful to us. For those of us that are in the building, there are some light refreshments outside the room here, and I think it's important for us to reflect on what we heard and have some opportunities to speak to some of the people, especially I'm anxious to speak to the scouts, to be honest with you. Next year, Sunday, May 9th, 2027, that's our Yom HaShoah program. I'll see you then. Have a good night.